The news dropped like a political bombshell, sending shockwaves from Washington to Islamabad. Picture this. Donald Trump is at a rally, soaking in the cheers of his supporters, probably talking about how great he is at, well, everything. Then, halfway across the world, the government of Pakistan announces its grand plan. They are officially nominating Donald J. Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. You heard that right? Pakistan, Trump, Nobel Peace Prize. Those are three things you probably never expected to see in the same sentence. The announcement was so sudden, so unexpected that journalists everywhere had to double-check their sources to make sure it wasn't a prank or a glitch in the simulation we're all clearly living in. This wasn't some quiet whisper or a rumor floating around on the internet. No, this was a formal declaration. On June 21, 2025, Pakistan's government released a statement praising Trump for his great strategic foresight and stellar statesmanship. Can you imagine the scene in the newsrooms? Phones ringing off the hook, producers scrambling, and anchors trying to report the story with a straight face. The world, which was already bracing for a wild ride with Trump back in the White House, suddenly had a brand new, completely unforeseen plot twist to process. It was the kind of story that makes you question reality, a geopolitical spectacle that felt more like a script from a satirical TV show than actual breaking news. The timing itself added to the drama. The announcement came just as the world was trying to understand the complex dynamics of Trump's new term. He had already claimed credit for solving conflicts left and right, from Serbia and Kosovo to Egypt and Ethiopia. But a Nobel nomination from Pakistan? That was a different league entirely. It immediately raised 1,000 questions. Why Pakistan? Why now? What was really going on behind the scenes? This wasn't just a simple endorsement, it was a powerful political statement, and everyone knew that in the high-stakes game of international relations, nothing happens by accident. For Trump himself, this was pure validation. He has long complained that he deserves a Nobel Prize, but would never get one from the fake news establishment. "No, I won't get a Nobel Peace Prize no matter what I do," he has said, adding, "But the people know, and that's all that matters to me." Now, a major country was stepping up to make the case for him on the world stage. The nomination wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a powerful symbol, a talking point that would dominate campaign rallies and cable news debates for months to come. The stage was set for an international drama of epic proportions. So, what exactly is Pakistan's argument? Why do they believe the man who brought us koffe and hamburgers deserves one of the world's most prestigious awards? Their primary reason is incredibly serious: averting a nuclear war. In May 2025, tensions between India and Pakistan flared up, leading to a dangerous 4-day conflict that had the world holding its breath. According to Islamabad, it was Trump's robust diplomatic engagement that pulled the two nuclear-armed rivals back from the brink. They credit him with securing a ceasefire and preventing a catastrophe. This wasn't just a minor disagreement. It was a moment when the world feared the worst. The groundwork for this was laid during a rare White House meeting. Pakistan's influential army chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, had lunch with Trump. It was during this crucial meeting that the deal was allegedly sealed. Reports suggest Munir promised to champion Trump's Nobel nomination in exchange for his direct intervention in the crisis with India. From Pakistan's perspective, Trump did what no one else could. He stepped in and forced a de-escalation. This narrative paints Trump not as a reality TV star, but as a decisive statesman who single-handedly stopped a war before it could spiral out of control. It's a powerful story, and it's the centerpiece of their nomination. Of course, India tells a very different story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government was quick to dispute Pakistan's version of events. Indian officials claim the ceasefire was a bilateral agreement, reached directly between the two militaries. They insist that Pakistan was the one who requested the halt in fighting and that no third-party mediation from Trump was needed or accepted. This, she said, dynamic is classic international politics, with each side pushing a narrative that serves its own interests. But Pakistan is sticking to its guns, presenting Trump as the hero who saved the subcontinent from a devastating conflict. Beyond the recent crisis, Pakistan also points to Trump's broader track record. They reference his historic meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un in 2019, where he became the first sitting US president to set foot in the Hermit Kingdom. While the long-term results of that diplomacy are still debated, the meeting itself was a stunning break from decades of hostility. Pakistan is framing Trump as a leader who isn't afraid to use unconventional personal diplomacy to tackle the world's most intractable problems. They argue that his willingness to engage directly with adversaries is a sign of bold leadership, not recklessness. Pakistan's nomination isn't just about one or two events. It's about a pattern of peacemaking they attribute to Trump. A major piece of their evidence is the Abraham Accords. Brokered in 2020 during his first term, these agreements were a diplomatic earthquake in the Middle East. For the first time in decades, several Arab nations, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan, agreed to normalize relations with Israel. This move shattered the long-standing consensus that peace with Israel was impossible without resolving the Palestinian issue first. For his supporters, the accords were proof of Trump's deal-making genius. These were not just symbolic gestures. The agreements led to the establishment of embassies, direct flights, and burgeoning trade and tourism between Israel and its new Arab partners. It was a tangible shift in the region's political landscape, creating new alliances and economic opportunities. While critics pointed out that these deals sidelined the Palestinians, supporters hailed them as a historic breakthrough that bypassed years of failed negotiations. Pakistan is now holding up the Abraham Accords as a prime example of Trump's ability to achieve what traditional diplomats could not, forging peace through pragmatism and economic incentives. The list of accomplishments, according to his backers, keeps growing. Just a day before Pakistan's announcement, on June 20, 2025, the Trump administration unveiled another diplomatic victory. Trump and his Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced a peace treaty between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. This agreement aims to end decades of brutal conflict in Africa's Great Lakes region, a conflict that has claimed millions of lives. Representatives from both countries are scheduled to sign the treaty in Washington, marking another high-profile diplomatic win for the administration. This adds another feather to Trump's cap, showcasing his influence far beyond the Middle East. Taken together, these achievements form the core of the pro-Trump argument, from normalizing relations in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, to stepping into North Korea, to de-escalating a crisis between India and Pakistan, and now brokering peace in Central Africa. His supporters see a clear and consistent pattern. They argue that despite his controversial style and divisive rhetoric, the results speak for themselves. The nomination from Pakistan is, in their eyes, simply a recognition of a simple fact that Donald Trump, against all odds, has become one of the most effective peacemakers of the modern era. However, for every person cheering the nomination, there seems to be another one shouting in outrage. The controversy is especially fierce within Pakistan itself. Many prominent Pakistanis have slammed their own government's decision, calling it a shameful act of political pandering. They see a glaring hypocrisy in nominating a leader who has openly supported Israel's war in Gaza and has hinted at joining military strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. How can a man be a Peace Prize candidate while also backing conflicts elsewhere? This question hangs heavy in the air, fueling intense debate across the country. The criticism from Pakistani elites has been brutal and direct. Journalist Zahid Hussain called the move pathetic, while former UN Ambassador Maliha Lodi labeled it unfortunate. TV host Talat Hussain didn't mince words, calling Trump Israel's sugar daddy and questioning the ethical basis of the nomination. Activists have flooded social media, accusing the Pakistani government of having zero dignity and acting like a rentier state willing to trade its principles for American favor. The backlash reveals a deep divide within Pakistan, with many feeling that their country is sacrificing its moral standing for a risky political gamble. The controversy extends far beyond Pakistan's borders. International critics were quick to pile on. Derek J. Grossman, a U.S. national security expert, stated bluntly that Pakistan has lost whatever dignity it had left. The move is seen by many as a desperate attempt by a financially struggling nation to curry favor with a powerful and unpredictable American president. Critics argue that nominating Trump for a peace prize devalues the award itself, turning it into a political tool rather than a recognition of genuine, selfless peacemaking. They point to Trump's divisive rhetoric and his America First foreign policy as fundamentally at odds with the spirit of the Nobel Prize. The heart of the criticism lies in the perception that Trump's actions are transactional, not idealistic. His supporters see him as a pragmatist cutting smart deals. His detractors see a leader who supports allies when it's convenient and fans the flames of conflict when it suits his agenda. The nomination forces a difficult conversation about what it truly means to be a peacemaker. Is it about signing treaties and averting wars, regardless of the methods or motives? Or does it require a deeper commitment to human rights, international law, and global cooperation? These are the tough questions that the Nobel Committee will have to grapple with. Ultimately, the nomination has split public opinion down the middle, creating a firestorm on social media and news channels. Online, the battle lines are clearly drawn. Supporters celebrate Trump as a peace visionary, flooding platforms with hashtags like #TrumpNobel and sharing memes of him wearing a Nobel medal. They see the nomination as long overdue recognition for a leader who gets things done. To them, the criticism is just sour grapes from a global establishment that has always been biased against him. They believe he has achieved more tangible peace than many past winners, and they are not shy about saying so. On the other side, detractors are just as loud. They label the nomination a political stunt and cringe-worthy pandering. They see it as a transparent attempt by Pakistan to gain leverage with the United States, particularly on the thorny issue of Kashmir. Trump recently commented that he would help find a solution for Kashmir after 1,000 years, a statement that gave Pakistan hope for US support. Critics argue that the nomination is not about peace. It's a strategic bribe, a diplomatic quid pro quo designed to win favor with the White House. This view paints Pakistan's move as a cynical ploy, not a sincere endorsement. This leads to the unavoidable question of geopolitical motive. Is Pakistan's nomination truly about celebrating peace, or is it a calculated move in a much larger game? By nominating Trump, Pakistan places itself firmly in his good graces. This could potentially translate into US support on key issues, from economic aid to diplomatic backing in its long-standing dispute with India over Kashmir. In the world of international relations, gestures like this are rarely just gestures. They are signals, investments, and strategic maneuvers. The Nobel nomination could be the ultimate diplomatic chess move from Islamabad. So, where does that leave us? We are left with a deeply polarizing question. Should Donald Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? Is he a misunderstood peacemaker whose unconventional methods have yielded historic results? Or is he a transactional leader whose diplomatic wins are overshadowed by his divisive politics and support for other conflicts? The nomination has forced the world to confront these questions head-on. There is no easy answer, and the debate is far from over. The final decision rests with the Nobel Committee in Oslo, but the verdict in the court of public opinion is already being fiercely argued. What do you think?